We've had some technical difficulties, but hopefully we still have our great number of followers who have been excited to hear how we are continuing to support youth in foster care across the state of Washington during the COVID-19 crisis. I'm Angela Griffin. I'm the Chief Program Officer at Treehouse. I've been here for 7.5 years, and I have the wonderful opportunity to provide strategic leadership for the education programs and resource services that are available to youth in foster care from birth through young adulthood. We have a variety of statewide initiatives that ensure the most vulnerable youth in our communities have access to the relationships, tangible resources, enrichment activities that ensure that they have a positive impact on their future. I'm joined today by two of my colleagues, Nicole and Lynda, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves before we dive into a conversation about how we are continuing to meet the needs of our youth despite the global pandemic we are all facing. Nicole?
Hey everyone, my name is Nicole Herron and I'm the Director of Resource Services. I've had the pleasure of working at Treehouse for a little over 6 years now, and I oversee all of our programs that provide tangible goods or financial resources. That includes our free store in Seattle, our just-in-time funding program, driver's assistance, and holiday magic, which we partner with DCYF to provide meaningful connections, tangible goods like toys and driver's education. And I'm really excited for this conversation today. Lynda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Lynda Hall. I'm the Director of Program Implementation, and I oversee our 3 statewide education programs. Education advocacy. We have 14 ed advocates across the state of Washington, helping youth have access to education at their school buildings, helping them with special ed and school enrollment, and then building up social worker and caregiver capacity. Our biggest program is Graduation Success, and we are helping youth across the state graduate from high school with a plan for their future. I have 56 education specialists and coordinators across the state of Washington doing that. And then our newest program is in pilot right now, and that's our Launch Success program. And that program works with our Grad Success graduates to help them successfully launch into adulthood.
All right, so thank you again for those of you who patiently waited for us to resolve our technical issues and get online here to talk more about our program services. We have been talking internally and sharing externally about what's going on with our youth and our programs, mainly because our services are still considered essential in the state of Washington as we support the K-12 education outcomes for vulnerable youth in our state. So Lynda and Nicole, you are pretty close to the work from the implementation and a program provision of service perspectives. So some of the questions I've been wondering is, what's the impact? What are the emergent needs that we continue to see our youth experiencing as our world is turned upside down? And what needs have changed across age groups and geographic areas, et cetera?
Nicole, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I can start. I'll start with our younger kids. So ordinarily our youth who are in kindergarten all the way up through high school would be in school. They would be getting ready to go to their after school activities. They'd be planning for their summer camp experiences, and just-in-time funding would be there to support them. And many of those things we're still helping them with, whether it's helping pay for school fees so that they can access the technology they need to participate in distance learning, or it's helping them engage in some of the cool services that have shifted online, like circus classes here in Seattle that they can now access through Zoom, or online workout classes, or providing them with sports equipment. We're here to meet those needs because our youth still want to be active. They still want to get outside, build relationships, and work towards their goals, whether it be for school or career. Another need that is still there but is bigger than ever is clothing. And our Treehouse store in Seattle has adapted to be able to fulfill orders. So if you are in a youth in care in King County, or you're a caregiver and you've got a young person who just got placed with you and you need clothing for them, please reach out to our store You can learn more about eligibility for any of our programs on our website at treehouseforkids.org. And you can also submit requests for just-in-time funding directly through an online form. So those are some of the needs that have come up, and those are ways that we're here to help families because our youth still have goals and they're persistent, and we're here to help them.
All righty. So our service strategy for Grad Success has been very hands-on, meeting youth in their school buildings, after school at Starbucks, and now that has come to a screeching halt. So they are now reaching out to their youth through Zoom, through FaceTime, through texting, and other avenues of how they connect with you. Oh, and old school phone. They're actually like talking on the phone. And whereas before when they were in school, it was always texting, they never wanted to talk to them on the phone. And now they're very much in touch with their ed specialists because they're really adjusting to life at home. They're not at school, they're adolescents, they're used to hanging out with their kids. And now they have to like have a structure around their day. Distance learning now has been rolling out across all the districts. So having their ed specialists help them navigate either e-learning or working on packets. Uploading documents into Google Docs is a new thing for them. So just getting into a routine of how to structure their day. So our ed specialists have been working with them to structure their day, make sure that they're actually doing their schoolwork because it counts, even though they have a different grading scale across the 40 plus districts that we're serving right now. And then our ed advocates have been working with caregivers around with our younger youth, making sure that they have access to resources to structure their day, helping them with their distance learning and their learning packets, giving them creative tools so they can build some fun into their day as well. And then the other piece of it is really navigating resources, like resources that are basic needs, because a lot of our youth are free and reduced lunch and they depend on breakfast and lunch being served at schools. So connecting them to their district where they're having their lunch meals provided and how they pick them up. So I think, and Launch Success. Our participants that have graduated are in college, they're working. So our coaches have been steadily helping them with, navigating unemployment and being able to apply for jobs, and then also making sure that they're stabilized in their housing.
And we also, we partner really closely with the local and state level education system. I think that's a unique aspect of our work, just making sure we're addressing the gaps that our youth are experiencing to access academic resources, helping to scaffold the way teachers, school support teams, caregivers, and so forth are engaging with their learning. We have 294 school districts in our state, and each one is engaging in a different way. As you shared, Lynda, like some of our kids are learning through packets and others are online platforms, and some haven't even launched their learning strategies yet. And so we're definitely helping youth and caregivers be creative in how they keep their kids motivated to continue learning, and then also helping with that transition back into the school structures that are being put into place for them. So our Launch Success, Lynda, you brought up our Launch Success youth, and that, we're working, many of them are working on their first job, in service, hospitality industry, et cetera. How are we helping them to keep their jobs? How are we keeping them engaged in the services that are available to them as young adults, like extended foster care, supporting them if they're unemployed, if they're experiencing housing issues? What have you seen our staff doing to help with those support needs as well?
So our Launch Success coaches partner with extended foster care social workers, with our IL providers, along with setup to make sure that their services are coordinated. College Success Foundation, their passport to college and careers, also making sure that they're in touch with their program officers. So we're just making sure that everybody is supported with their support team around them, and they're working to keep them housed. They're paying for their e-learning. So a lot of the kids that are in college are now having to do their work online. So they have access to computers, they have access to hotspots. So really making sure that we are partnering and we're keeping the communication open. When it comes to jobs, a lot of our participants are in the hospitality industry. So if they were working at a restaurant and the restaurant is cutting back on hours, how are we making sure that they have enough money, or knowing which industries are hiring? So a lot of the grocery stores, if they were in hospitality, they can actually pivot into like applying for work at a grocery store so they can keep their hours up. So they're just looking at alternative ways that they can get kids that have lost jobs or hours into other jobs that they would qualify for.
And I would add to that, Angela and Lynda, and say that this is, we're all under quarantine. There are many of our youth who are still working, or maybe, like Lynda said, have had reduced hours or even lost their job. And the process of going and accessing public assistance, whether it's unemployment, food stamps, or any of the resources out there, can be super daunting for anyone that hasn't done it yet. And you add being a young person on top of that, that's just getting used to living on your own, and it's scary. And so our coaches are there to help them create a budget, to help them figure out what, sanitizing stuff at home can look like, to work out new routines and ways of engaging their friends and community. And, for some of our youth, they also need ideas for what to do next. And so we also offer incentive plans that can help them when they're setting goals. So if they're looking for a job, we've got activities they can do around that, building a resume, researching employment opportunities. If they're looking to retain their job, we've got strategies for how they can do that, and ideas for what they'd like to do next when it comes to school. And maybe work is solid, and what they really need is ways to stay busy and have fun at home. And we've also got ideas around that. We've got this cool new e-newsletter that goes out, and it's got ideas for recipes and life skills and the yoga classes and stuff that they can do to stay active, because it's important for the young youth we serve, but it's also important for the young adults we work with. And so trying to support them as a whole person and not just with their basic needs is really important.
Yeah, that creativity is important. And I just admire our staff across the state who are finding really unique ways to keep our youth and young adults engaged. And I mean, it's hard. I mean, if you just think about our older youth who achieved the goal of graduating from high school, and then, we've supported them on paths for earning a college degree or credential, or getting work and retaining that work, or even securing stable housing. And then they have the rug pulled out from underneath them again, per se, and so definitely helping our participants forge a new path towards their aspirations is critical right now, and the creativity is really neat. So, there is an opportunity for people to ask questions, and you can ask, and the questions may be scrolling, we haven't seen them yet, but there's a way that people can ask questions and we can respond because we are live. And so I don't see any questions, no questions being asked yet. And again, we started a little late, so don't know how many people are on there listening, but we just want to make sure that the communities know that the service to youth and foster care across our state is still going on, and that we understand the essential needs that they have and the emergent needs that they have, and want to continue to be a resource for them and engage community any way that we can in providing those resources. So seeing that we don't have any questions, Lynda, Nicole, anything else you would want to add about our work, our great work?
I would just add that, if you're a caregiver out there and you're wanting to stay updated on what resources are available at Treehouse, as well as out within your community, you can reach out and get signed up for our e-newsletter. It's a great tool, and we're here to help find creative solutions. We're just so amazed at all the work that the teachers are doing, that caregivers are doing, and how the community has come together to support youth in care. So if you've got any questions, please reach out. We're here to help.
Oh, we actually have a question.
Actually, a question from Ben on Facebook. Ben is saying Ben is curious to hear more about the housing challenges and solutions and how are youth accessing support to keep a roof overhead.
So this is a two-part question because Nicole's team and my team both work together on making sure that our kids are stably housed. My team with Grad Success and with Launch Success work with, if the youth is in extended foster care, they are working with their social worker and their team to make sure that they're stably housed. If they are behind in rent, we become very creative with the way that we are able to supplement their rent. So this is when we go over to Nicole's team about creativity around rental assistance when needed.
Well, it's a priority of ours, first and foremost, to educate our youth on their rights. And so we start with that. We then help them work out a plan. Do they want to be where they are short-term, long-term, and do they need employment? So we stabilize them. Sometimes that means paying their rent for a month while they come up with a plan. And then once a plan is in place, we help them work towards that. So it looks a little bit different if the young person is already in housing versus if they're not in housing. If they're not in housing or if they are looking to relocate, then we work with them to identify housing and to go through the application process, explain what it means to, have references and first, last, and deposit. And if they need assistance with that, we provide that. So those are some ways that we help with housing, but it can be complex because there's a lot of different scenarios. And quite frankly, it can look different throughout the state because some of the larger, more metropolitan areas may have more housing options available, but rent can also be more expensive. So I think that answers that question. But I think we've got another one from Shaughnessy asking if we can share some stories, some successes that have happened. Lynda, I know you've got a lot that you've heard recently. Do you have any you'd like to share or highlight?
Why am I blanking right now? Well, along the lines of housing, we did have a youth that had a major housing crisis, and it took a very large team that came together through Treehouse, extended foster care, and the United Way. This young woman was in an apartment complex. She had a lot of issues that happened to her earlier on in the year. She had a roommate. The roommate moved out on her, which made her become behind on rent. We had been supplementing her rent. Her Launch Success coach started working with her and mapped out her budgeting, mapped out like all of the avenues where she could stabilize herself, get a new job, and all of the things came together. The United Way actually stepped in and was able to work with her landlord. And Nicole, did they forgive all of the back rent and then started her out like fresh slate? So yeah. She has a job now, she's stabilized, she's in the same apartment, things are going a lot better for her. But that was a big team that came together to make that happen.
Yeah, I've got another one. We had a high school student out in Spokane living in a group home, and classes were going to start online really soon. And the home had already received all the laptops the school could provide, and the student was really struggling to get access to one. And fortunately, we had received a donation of laptops just a few weeks earlier and had some out there. And one of our team members was able to go and not only deliver a laptop to that student, but to 9 others within the area so that they could get started with their distance learning and working on their schoolwork as quickly as possible.
Yeah. We're really good about using data to inform the services that we provide and how we engage youth. And so we recently conducted a survey to better understand the gaps that our young people are experiencing. And over 50% of them had their basic needs met. And the majority of them had access to technology and other resources for them to continue with their education and their support, those who are participating in Treehouse. And so that is a testament to the great work and the great services we've been providing. So I'm going to segue out of here. You know, if you follow us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even LinkedIn, we share daily stories of success of the successes of our youth, because the impact is great and we want the world to know. Also, we want our young people to see and hear the successes that they're experiencing out there as well. The conversation that we don't have time for today is how all that we have discussed is even more disproportionate for our youth in foster care who also identify as youth of color, English language learners, students with special education needs, and LGBTQ+. So maybe a group will be able to come back live in the future to share more about the equity work that we do at Treehouse as well. So thanks again for being with us today. Our community has really stepped up for our youth during this time. If you're inspired to take action on behalf of youth in foster care, please visit givebigwa.org, givebigwa.org/Treehouse to make a donation. You can also find that link on social media. And then during the month of May, which is National Foster Care Month, our staff and students will be participating in more Facebook Lives every Wednesday and Friday around lunchtime. And we hope that you all will join us, share it out, and get more people to join us during that time as well. Thank you so much.